Hello, you golfing legends, and welcome back to another episode of the Original Off Course. I'm your host, Dan Edwards, and joining me this week is Mr. Doug Roberts of Cobra Puma fame. Doug is what I assume is the king of R&D over there at Cobra. It's great to have you on the show.
Great to be here. Excited to chat.
Yeah, I think your legacy has gained quite a bit of traction over the last couple weeks based on the success you've had over there at Victoria National at the Morgan Cup. We'll get into that eventually, but Doug, first thing I want to do is let people understand what your role is at Cobra and the length of time you've been there, which I believe is well over a decade at this point.
Yeah, I've been here almost so long I can't count. It's been almost 18, 19 years actually. So been here. I was here before Puma came in and worked with Cobra and bought Cobra. So I'm one of the original Cobra members. Um, so yeah, I oversee R&D. So we have several groups. We have design, engineering, innovation, research, testing. So we have these different groups, and I oversee these groups, and we're working to design, engineer the best products in the market. So that's our goal every day. What keeps us coming to work.
Yeah, you see the change each year. You don't really get a chance to look under the hood and say, who's doing it, why are they doing it? Creeping on the LinkedIn a little bit gave me a couple of things to think about asking while we're doing the show today. I think the critical component to really kick this off is the depth that R&D goes to. Like I'm thinking from a club design perspective, like, well, let's put the best metals and the best design. But there's more to that. There seems to be a conversation on inspiration and color and style and presentation. Like there's not one small component to R&D. So I'd love for you to kick it off and say, when you guys look at a new product or you're trying to innovate in a certain way, how do you even get started on something like that?
Yeah, you're right. Like it's very in depth. We spend probably 2 years on each and every club. So we're working full time every day, all the hours of the day trying to figure out that club and how we can make that club better from performance standpoint, how we can make it look better and how we can help it fix the golfer's shot in any aspect. So um, we start with Jose's group is actually the one that starts it. So they start with somewhat of a product plan of, hey, we need a new driver. We need something in the market that is going to do this type of performance or fill this type of hole. And so we start with a little bit of that direction from his product marketing group, and then it comes and we start with the technology. So it goes into our innovation team, and they'll work on figuring out what innovation and technology can meet that need that we talked about at the beginning. So could be this new technology that they've been working on for several years, and we bring that technology into this project. And once we have that technology defined, then we start with the looks. So then we'll move into the industrial design part of it. And this is where we'll look at inspiration from, we use cars quite a bit, the car industry. We'll look at some different design languages that we'll see from cars, the way that surfaces come together and shapes come together. But really it's fitting the form around this technology that we've defined. And then we move into the coloring and the design aspect of it. And from that, at Cobra, we've done a lot of different colors. It's been something that we've been known for. And so we do quite a bit of inspiration research on coloring and the cosmetic details. And from there, once we have the design, then we're moving into three-dimensional CAD. So we're moving into the CAD system, and this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of the mass properties, the center of gravity, the moment of inertia, and we're building all the surfaces, and we'll do an analysis and move the weight from here to there and see what the performance is going to be based on the different weighting. So then we make it a part. So then we're making a part, we're doing testing, we're iterating, and we go through that process. So that's a quick rough summary of a 2-year cycle. but
So
lots of
so
people involved.
are you currently working on like 2028?
We are, yeah, we're working, yeah, 2 to 3 years out. We have to, if we have a 2 years life cycle, we have to be, working 2 to 3 years out. So
And how much does decisions in the marketplace or reactions from consumers impact that product life cycle and as well as the actual development of it? Do you ever have to switch away or pivot away from something based on what you're seeing?
we want to get as much feedback as we possibly can, and so we're always receiving feedback from many different sources, from retailers, from consumers, from our testers. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, we have the ideal process, which is put ourselves in a vacuum, and we're starting up at the top and we're funnel our way down to the product 2 years later. But it doesn't always happen. Like there's feedback that comes and changes that come. And so, we're zigging and zagging and adjusting and updating based on, if there's some type of trend or some type of need in the market that we see. If we identify that, hey, we didn't quite get this right, then we're going to zag over there and do something different. So it's probably happens like 90% of the time on 90% of the projects that where we start, we don't end up in because of some type of change, and we've identified something based on feedback or performance needs. So it's the people that we have here are amazing because they're very adaptable, and that's can be frustrating as somebody that's working on a project if a change comes and you've put a lot of work into it, and then you have to adjust a little bit. That can be frustrating, but we've learned how to deal with it over the years we've been here and figure it out.
It's interesting that you mentioned car theme because I've sat through a couple presentations and I remember specifically seeing some of the cars that show up on the slides saying like, "Hey, the word fast. Think about this car, sleek and presentation." What is it about the car scene that makes you want to go in that direction?
I think the way we look at cars is they're kind of the the top product. Like they're a big product. They're something that people spend a lot of money on. There's a lot of effort goes into the design and engineering of cars, and so we think of that as kind of the top product. So um, there's so many different cars out there and different segments of cars, and you can really look at different aspects of different designs based on the categories you're looking at. I was listening to your podcast with Jose, and you mentioned like the F9 driver.
Yeah.
Um, like that driver was really inspired by a Ferrari car, like the design and the coloring. Like that color that we have on the bottom of the F9 is we call it a Ferrari yellow. So we matched the Ferrari yellow paint. We thought, hey, could we paint the whole club yellow? And it's like, oh, that's maybe a bit much. So we ended up painting the top black and the bottom yellow, and it turned out to be a pretty cool design. But also the shaping, the way that the sole was designed, kind of came off of some of the surfacing on one of the cars that we were looking at. So yeah, we love to get inspiration from different places, and the car is probably the top one.
So it's not simply that cars have to be hyper aero focused, which I think was a primary discussion point for a number of years, talking about how solid the Cobra Aero project was. And there's a very obvious correlation there between the two. So it wasn't just simply that; it's that cars are pretty damn hot, and you want to make that connection if you can.
Yeah, cars have different aspects. Aero is one of them, and we've looked at that from a club standpoint. So we've definitely looked at the aero angle, but there's different pieces of the design that we're looking at. It could just be pure random, like how do two surfaces come together? What's the trend right now? Is it soft blending surfaces, or is it more angular surfaces that meet with a sharp point? Like just things like that. We want to stay on top of what's trendy and what's interesting to the consumers, and so yeah, we think the cars are one of the main products that can guide us there.
Mm. I've been chatting with the guys around here quite a bit lately about some of the tech that Cobra's been forward in the industry with. That sort of wrap carbon profile that started. Was that? Was it F9 that was the first one that had it, that wrapped around the edge? Or is that s
Yeah, yeah, we
okay.
had the F9 that wrapped around the edge, and you'll see it in the market today that,
Mhm.
people are coming with some wrapped carbon designs, but yeah, that's a club that, we look back on, the F9 as one that really hit a sweet spot from a performance and a design, regard, so, it had a lot of aspects from a mass property standpoint that fit a lot of different players, and so we'll reference that club quite a bit in our engineering.
Yeah, I mean, put the soundtrack of that audible contact point on every driver ever, and I'm not mad about it, Doug. I'm actually
Yeah,
quite happy. It sounded
yeah.
great too. But the question I was going with was, from being that you've been around for a while at Cobra, is that one of those components that was just like a top 3 moment from an R&D perspective, like you really had something going there?
There was a lot that came together in that. Like I've mentioned the design and the engineering and like you say, the sound, even the shape on that one is something that we reference. Um, our tour players even reference it and a lot of our tour players will request, hey, we want the exact top down profile of the F9 driver. Um, and then, the other thing that was really nice with that driver is that we had several tour wins right when we launched it, and so we had a lot of momentum going with that product. But it's definitely driven the products that have come behind it and the technology that's coming behind it.
Are there any other examples, like significant moments in time during your career there that you've said, like, man, we've really got something here that's just a miles above what we're expecting or what we feel like has been presented previously?
So we are super excited about the 3DP irons. Like, I've been in the golf industry for like 20 to 28 years. And this idea of having a player's iron that performs like a game improvement iron has been something that we've been working on, and it's kind of been like the holy grail of iron engineering. And so, like, we're so excited about what we can present with these 3DP irons. Um, the just the ability to move this weight around and to engineer this thing and it feels good, it looks good, it performs like when you hit it, it's like, whoa, like that's completely different. Like I love that experience of when you take a club that you've worked on and you give it to a player and they hit it and they turn around like, whoa, like that's unique, that's different, and that's exciting, and we're seeing that with almost everybody that hits this 3DP iron. So um, yeah, that's one that we're really proud of. We've had a guy here, Ryan Roach, that's been working on that for a lot of years, and we're leading the industry in it, and super excited about where that can take us.
So you've also got a guy there named Roger who likes to go down when his friends come into town to hit the product and laugh at them while they, hit it way better than they expect to. So that definitely happened. I had a chance to spend some time in the Bay there, and
Yeah,
it was with Jose and Roger, and
yeah.
I was hitting the tour irons, and I'm incredibly impressed with them. And we had a lot of fun, picking a shaft that worked really well for me. And then they had a couple of the tour versions, the things that the like I think this I don't think this is Homa's. I think was it Gary's? No. Yeah. The MB
The
version that
MB that
yeah.
yeah, Gary and
And,
Max are playing.
I'm of course, I'm being a respectful, thoughtful golfer saying, "Ah, it's too much club for me. It sounds great." And I just keep hitting this green from, 178 yards away with a 7 iron, and Roger's giving me grief the whole time. I feel like I've told this story in the show, but it was to Jose last time as we were reflecting on it. But, those are the moments that have to be pretty special because you have conditioned golfers to expect something with a certain profile, and when you can I like to call it 1 plus 1 equals 3, where you can create something that really doesn't make sense based on the profile, and somehow it's getting you more performance you'd ever expect out of it. I mean, I don't think I've had that kind of experience with an iron of that size in quite that magnitude. It was really quite spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like I'm a 9 handicap, and this 3DP Tour iron, like it the way that it's shaped, like that wouldn't be an iron that I would normally be able to play. But I can play it and I love it because it's got a little bit less offset, it's got a thinner top line, it's a little more compact looking. And when you think about the iron market, like you see, going all the way from an MB to like a super game improvement iron, those are big shape differences between the sole width and the top line and the way the face is shaped and the hosel, all that, the way it comes together is completely different, and it gives you a completely different alignment look versus like on drivers, the shaping is much more aligned. Like if you talk about a tour driver all the way to a super game improvement driver, the shaping is different, but not as different as irons.
Mm.
And so the shaping has really driven the performance in the past, and so we're able to decouple that a little bit with this 3DP and take people several categories down from, okay, I was playing, this is what I look at on a shape standpoint, and now I can move not just one step, maybe two, maybe three steps down in shaping to from where I was at, and it looks good, it aligns good, and like, wow, like the performance is what I had before over here. So yeah, we're super excited. We've got a lot of resources moving in that direction, and excited about what's coming too.
It's a hard thing to do because frankly, you're giving golfers what they don't deserve, and and I have a story for that. I had a buddy back in the day who would only hit MB profile irons. He refused to have a cavity set. He couldn't look at it, couldn't deal with it. And now you're finally giving him what he wants in a set of irons that'll actually help his game or support his game. And man, I don't know if he's the kind of guy I want in that because it'll just give him extra confidence. I'm not just make sure he doesn't see it. Is that all right?
Yeah, like you see that all the time. Like, when you just go up to, random golfers and see what's in their bag, often I'll see people playing irons that they really shouldn't be playing from a performance standpoint, that really they need a little bit more forgiveness than what that iron's giving them. But they're playing it because they like the shape, they like the look.
Mhm.
And so yeah, now guys like your friend, like we can give them the performance that they want with that look. So
Yeah,
it's exciting.
it's a problem is what it is. Doug, I'm curious about 3D printing as a whole, as you're seeing the benefits of it between the putter space, between the iron space, that there has to be a notable shift. And I assume there's still a challenge when it comes to um, completion times or availability or overall production value of it. But is there a shift? Are we seeing a pretty significant shift in an understanding that 3DP is a big deal and it needs to be more involved in your process?
Yeah, every club has unique engineering challenges, and from a driver to iron to putters and even wedges. And 3DP can benefit all of those products in different ways. And the idea of 3DP is that we can take a chunk of mass in like a 3DP tour iron, like our previous tour iron that we called our King Tour iron. That iron, we can take 100 grams out of the center of that club and move it into the outer low heel and toe areas. And so just by doing that, but we're able to maintain the structure with this lattice, this internal lattice, the way that we can 3D print it, so that we're able to maintain the feel and the structure that we need for that iron, but able to move this 100 grams of weight. Like it's pretty amazing what you can do with the mass properties, the center of gravity and the moment of inertia. So yeah, taking that same concept and thinking about how it applies, to different products is pretty exciting. And 3D printing is one of those industries that is advancing rapidly. Like the technology is changing like every 6 months. It's getting better and better. And so, we're jumping on that train and working with some partners and some industries that are helping us grow as fast as we can.
Yeah, I want to address something that I think a lot of people get concerned with, and I think it's probably more of a misnomer or a misconception than anything else, and that the structural stability and overall durability of 3D printing is not that of a cast or forged product. And The last time I had a full discussion about 3DP, it was that they're actually in a lot of ways more durable because it's supporting that face more than, let's say, a hollow body would or something of that nature. Is there any concern about durability? I know you've tested it.
Yeah, like 10, 15 years ago, there was that concern. Like 3D printing wasn't at the stage where it was as durable. But now the way that it's come and advanced in technology, it's more durable. We've had 3D printing on tour for a while. Like Bryson DeChambeau, when he was with us, he was using 3D printed irons, and he's one of the hardest swingers out there, and they're using it on a stage that is super important. Their livelihoods depend on it and their careers, so yeah, they were using it. We have no concerns from a durability standpoint. So yeah, our irons are more durable than a normal iron with 3D printing. So no
Yeah,
concerns at all.
I'm not going to try and gaslight you here too much, but there was a lot of rumors around Bryson being an incredibly needy guy as it comes to the things he wanted in his design features of his products. Do you do not have to answer this. Feel free to pivot in whatever direction you need to. But do you feel like it was a couple years too soon to have him on staff where you could accommodate his needs today uh, by shifting very subtle things a little bit easier than it was back then?
Yeah, Bryson's a great guy, and when he came into R&D, which he came into R&D quite a bit, he was always great to work with. Like, he was always super friendly and gracious, and but he's also very smart and has a lot of ideas and would challenge us on, hey, what about this and what about that, and that's great. Like, we love brainstorming and ideas. So, we always loved working with him. But yeah, I think his career and the way that this technology has come together, I think maybe a couple years could have helped in our relationship, to come together just a little bit better. But yeah, he's doing great. He just played the Ryder Cup, played all 5 rounds, and and he's doing well, and we're cheering for him. So
It was just interesting hearing that, a tour pro comes to you and says, "These are the things I'm looking for," and you can provide them with a product within, a certain amount of time that goes to their exact spec and visual profile. And I feel like a guy like Bryson, who's been known to be very particular, I don't think needy was the right word. Particular is probably a better way
yeah.
of putting it. That to be able to land on something like that so quickly, and based on what I understand about prototyping and the challenges that you face prior to something like 3D pre where you can't just shift it. You have to go through a lot of steps to get it into a certain profile. Now with 3DP, make a couple tweaks pretty quickly, and suddenly you can have a one of one profile built and shipped to a tour truck within, I assume, weeks, if anything. Like that shift has to be unbelievable for anyone considering Cobra as a tour player.
Yeah, like I remember an experience early on in my career. This had to be like 25 years ago. David Toms, former PGA player, came in, and he was working with me in R&D, and he sat right behind me on the computer, and we were designing his irons. Like, he wanted a particular look, the way the toe was shaped and the hosel was blending, and the way the sole interacted with the turf, and when you do a normal process, you really only have one shot. Like, he's looking at it on screen, and then we're going to make a part, and then he's going to test it, and then if he wanted changes, then we had to go back through that whole process again, and it just took so long, and we just never quite got him exactly what he wanted because it was not fast enough. So yeah, you're completely right. Like, now, like, we can engineer this thing with them. We can print one, they can test it, we can come back and make a change, and we can have it to them within a few weeks, and dial in all those little details. So it's a complete game changer for tour players, I think. Like, and you know if you think about that experience, for a tour player, like, we would love to eventually bring that, down to the masses. Like, how can we bring that ability to every player? Because you probably have specific things that you want on your irons, as far as sole width and top line and offset and blade length. as you go from like a 4 iron all the way to a gap wedge, maybe a standard set doesn't quite offer that to you. And so we would love to eventually get to that spot where we could bring that tour experience down to the everyday player.
I mean, it sounds crazy. I need the input that says GIR on it. That's all I'm looking for. Yeah, the potential in my perspective has to be immense, and I think it's really cool, and I'd love for you to speak on this. As far as technologies that you've seen over the years and how they've developed, I would assume that 3DP has been a fairly rapid experience, as it continues to develop. Is there anything else like that that you've seen in the past that it is like a must-have for a product, but it also is in a space that can develop incredibly rapidly?
I mean, I think back, I've been doing this long enough. Like I remember titanium drivers was a must. Like that came into the industry, and it was such a game changer for as far as the weight to strength ratio and what it could offer versus steel. You know, it's like half the density, and so you could save all this weight. That's one that kind of reminds me of what 3DP was. Like everybody in metal was, you had to go to titanium. In drivers. And so, yeah, this 3DP is really moving fast. And we're shifting, like, 5, 10 years ago, it was this thing we were working on for tour players, and we weren't quite sure, how it was going to come together and work for everybody. But, we just launched, our first several irons, and those are going well. And so we're trying to figure out the future and move forward. So yeah, super excited about it. I mean, I'll tell you about like one experience I just had. Like I just went out and we had some guys in R&D that they did like a test for me, and they had this big monitor out at the range, and they had a CAD engineer there, and and then they had a fitter, and so they had me start hitting shots. I'd hit a 7 iron, and then they'd have me hit a 4 iron, and then a 9 iron. Go throughout the set, and they're getting my numbers with my current set, and then they would start handing me these different 3DP irons, these different shapes, and they would watch my numbers and watch how it interacted with the turf, and we'd try 3 or 4 different shapes, and by the end they were engineering on the fly a new set for me that they could 3D print for me personally that had completely different specs than what I was playing, and the way that it flowed throughout the set was totally unique to me. Like
Hmm.
that was an amazing experience, for me. And so that's the type of thing that 3DP can eventually bring to the masses, and just that customization. I haven't got this set yet. It's being printed right now, but I'll probably be getting it here in a couple of weeks, and super excited to try this out, this brand new set.
That sounds insane. Listen, man, I can free up my calendar anytime you need it. If you're tired of swinging, let me know. That sounds ridiculously cool.
We'll bring
Um,
you out and have you try it.
yeah. You mentioned titanium, but I was sort of expecting you to mention some sort of graphite or carbon fiber, that big shift there as well. It, did the progression of that profile, the top line profile or the crown profile, did that have a similar impact, and a similar development cycle that something like this would?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Like carbon fiber has definitely had a big impact on drivers. I think I said titanium because to me that was even a larger one,
Mm,
because you went from steel, which is like 7.8 density, to titanium, which is almost half that, a little bit more than half. But um, it's just such a big change from a weight standpoint. And carbon fiber, you are replacing pieces of the driver, not the full driver. So that does have a big effect on the weight, and you've seen it in most all drivers now have carbon fiber crowns. So that's also a big construction change that's had a big impact on clubs.
but the interesting thing for me throughout the years is watching the material choice from a durability standpoint. I mean, we've seen I remember when the first couple drivers came out that had a little bit of carbon fiber on the sole, people are saying, like, "This will never last, durability issues," and now there's, you know, faces that have different material than steel on it. It's like there's always a constant fear of what could be and how long will it last, and the overall quality of the product throughout the life cycle of it. Does it have like a baseball bat profile where you get into a sweet spot and it's great for about, a year and then it's dead or whatever? I assume you're always playing on a pretty fine line with material thickness or density, where you want to make sure the product has a long life cycle, but also can compete with everything else in the market, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're always pushing the boundaries as far as, what can we do to bring performance to the golfer. But on the other side, like, we make sure this thing is durable. Like, we put it through the paces. Like, it goes through an air cannon test that is more than any player could ever put that club through, and it has to pass that with flying colors. Like, it's got to go through thousands of hits at a tour player speed before we would even consider it to give it to mass production. So we do push the boundaries from an engineering stand. We're trying to save weight here, weight there, but durability is something that's just we don't take chances with. Like we make sure that it's durable and ready to go. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a balance of those two.
I have so many questions for you. I'm going to try and rattle them off, but we have to talk Morgan Cup because I know
Yeah.
it hit you pretty good. I'd love to speak a little bit about sound because I feel like Cobra has always put sound ahead on their design profile. I assume what you experience, you play a pretty big role in that, making sure that the sound quality is on par or better than everyone else out there. I liken it back to F9. I think King LTD was an outrageously good sounding product. And I look back at the original like Forge Tech irons. Like there are so many irons in the lineup that I can reflect back on and say, man, those really made a difference sound wise. And it goes all the way up to now. Like King Tech sounds great. There's no concession of performance to sound from my perspective at Cobra. So from an R&D perspective, from a design process perspective, I assume sound is at the top of the list of concessions you will not make.
Yeah, and it goes back to our history. Maybe 25 years ago, Cobra had some drivers that were loud. L5V, L4V, a couple that come to my mind real quick. They were head turners when you went to the range and somebody was hitting one of those products. Like, the performance was there, but the sound was just off. It was just so loud. Like, everybody on the range would turn and look, and that hurts cells. Like, that's just not a good thing. Like, there's a certain sound that people are comfortable with, that sounds powerful and good, and acceptable. And so we made the decision many years ago, like, we are just not going to compromise on sound. Like, that's just one of those things that we have to have. And I would say our standard has been pretty high compared to the market in the past 5 to 10 years. Like, we make sure that, yeah, everything that goes out of here, it's going through an analysis, and that analysis is showing us with a sound frequency that is in the range that we know is good. Like, we've figured it out, we know where we want to be, and it doesn't go out the door unless it hits that range. um, and so, yeah, we've got a guy here, and his name's Tim Beno, and he does a really good job of making sure our sound is where it needs to be. So durability, sound, obviously performance, like, we're always, and then cosmetics and the design is always something. Those are a couple of the things that have to be where they need to be.
Hmm. Is there a window you're willing to live in, um, differently from an iron perspective, understanding that the composition is quite different between an MB and a, super game improvement iron like Baffler?
Yeah, you'll see a range. You'll definitely see a range. Like, hollow irons sound different than an MB solid iron. Um, and you'll see it in the market too with our competitors. There's quite a big range. Like, when you get into some of the larger irons that are hollowish, those have a little bit of a louder ringing sound to it. And so, we do look at it based on category. There's a different range acceptable on a player's iron versus a super game improvement iron. But we feel like where we've been in our history, there's a limit to what we'll accept, even in the super game improvement category. So, we make sure we stay within a good acceptable range there. And, that's one of the reasons why we're so excited about 3DP, is that the sound and feel that this gives you is like, I talked a lot about the sizing and the performance, like that combination. But really, when you add that to the feel of this thing, like it's giving you a feel that's almost like one of those buttery MBs that people love to play back in the day, like forged MBs. Like if you can combine that feel with the performance that you're getting, like that's another piece of the puzzle that's super exciting to us.
Is connecting the top of the bag is what is always interesting to me because I love to have a more forgiving 4-iron in my bag when I play a bit more of a demanding player CB type profile. And I liken it all the way back to the original Forge Tech or even Speedback. Like F9 was an insanely good sounding game improvement iron that easily slid in there because it sounded so good. Ignoring the part where you look down and it's a lot different to look at. It didn't matter because it still gave you that unbelievably good feedback when you hit it well. And I think there are definitely companies out there that make concessions based on the performance they can present, and it's just not for me. Like respectfully, it's just not for me. And I think I've never experienced that from Cobra. There is always a more forgiving step I can take and still be in a sound window that I really like, and I love that.
Yeah, I think it goes again back to our history. Like we had a lot of negative experience 20 years ago. So,
Sick of the
that kind
emails,
of
yeah.
that kind of scarred us. And so like we put our foot down, like, no more of that.
Okay.
That's not something that we're gonna do. But yeah, like you mentioned, like 4-iron, like I have a DS Adept 4-iron in my bag, and then a King Tech X the rest of the set. And I hit some of my best shots at Morgan Cup with that 4-iron. So that was fun to have.
I get a sense you're itching to talk about it, and I'll tell you what, the Morgan Cup has such a storied history that I'm not gonna hold you back any longer. Doug had the opportunity to play in his first Morgan Cup this year, which actually happened to be the last Morgan Cup. We were coming out with the Cobra Classic next year, which if you folks aren't familiar with either of the two, head over to the Hackers Paradise and definitely get in the community and learn more because it's a crazy event. You get a bag full of equipment, you play with uh, amazing people like Doug and I guess Jose as well, Miraflor over there at Cobra. And you go to a golf course this year. It was hosted at Victoria National in Indiana, which is an unbelievably challenging, wonderful golf course. It's part of the Dormy network. And it's just a whole year of crazy. Like you get treated like a tour pro, all the apparel, golf shoes, the dinners are insane. Like it's an insane experience. And I feel like Doug, I'd love to hear from your perspective because we both played in one. I'm a proud cap. I always point at the wrong direction. 2019 of an event that's exactly the same. So, what was your take? What did you think about your first Morgan Cup?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely amazing experience. Like I didn't really know exactly what to expect, and it exceeded my expectations. Like it was, so Mike Yagley had been the one that's been attending the Morgan Cup for Cobra with Jose, and Mike left, and so they turned to me, and I said yes right away. Like, yeah, I'll definitely go to this event, but like I had no idea what it all entailed. So um, it was just like amazing from so many aspects. Like it was such a well planned event, such an amazing course, and but to me, like what was number one was the people. Like it was just such amazing people. They were so gracious with this experience that they were getting the opportunity to do. They just loved everything. Like they loved the clubs and the clothes and the food and the venue, and the competition was so fun. So like I feel like this team event, like where we as the hackers team, like for months leading up to this thing, we were meeting and discussing and strategizing and organizing, and then you go to this event, and I hadn't met these people in person until you get there to the venue, and then you meet them in person, and then you're going to battle with them. Like, you know, you're grinding and going through this stress. And so like I feel like these guys are like lifelong friends. And
Mhm.
even like the other team, like by the third day, like I was like rooting for some of the players on the other team. Like they were just, such good people. So that's what I take away from it in
Mhm.
just a general sense. Just amazing event and amazing people.
Yeah, the core of it is the THB community, which is a place where every type of golfer can go and enjoy and discuss the game of golf. There's not a lot of tolerance. No one cares if you play MBs and used to be a head pro somewhere. It's just not that kind of place. We support each other, and despite it being a competition, it usually comes with friendships from both sides, which is a really great thing. But the other part of that is we are all discerning golfers with big expectations, and if the equipment doesn't meet the standards that the golfers have, I mean, it's a challenge. And unfortunately, the feedback has been really strong this year. DS Adapt with Future Fit 33 has been a big winner from my perspective, and all the way through the bag, the conversation's been incredibly positive. So you can't go to a place like Victoria National, which has caused many, I don't want to say fatalities, but damaged um, minds.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly hard golf course, and the ability to go there with the set of clubs you have confidence in is paramount to having any sort of
Yeah.
success. So,
Yeah. It was, that's what was cool about the event is like we had players all across the handicap spectrum. And and so that was fun to play with that range of players. And you're right, that course, like brutal course. Like um, I had the opportunity. Jose ended up flying like a red eye because he wanted to go play the course, and I'm like, Jose, if I fly red eye, I am going to be no good by the first time. So I didn't play Victoria until we teed it up the first tee, and yeah, it's a demanding course. Like it was pure chaos. Like we we I mean, you saw all types of shots and all types of holes and just an amazing place to have a competition like that. And golf is tough. And so then when you add a little bit of pressure to it, like and then a tough course, like wow, like it was a fun experience. I was grateful the first day I was the last group. I didn't have to tee off in front of everybody.
okay, yeah.
So that was like my number one win is like, okay, I'm teeing off in the fourth group. And then my partner Travis, this was a shamble format the very first round, and he hits it right into the fairway. I'm like, okay, I'm good to go after that.
That's too bad. Trial by fire is way more fun. They did you way too right on that one.
I know they should have had me tee off first. I would have yacked it left out of bounds or something.
Oh, it's so funny. Was there a hole that you want another chance at? Was there a hole you love the most there?
Um, Hole 16 is par three, I
The little
think. Is
par
that
3, yeah, the
yeah, with the
150
kind of
yards.
the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I was coming down in my singles match, and I had got down pretty good at the beginning, and I was coming down, and I hit that one in the water, and I just really want that shot back. That's one
Yeah.
that I'm really regretting. But there are so many holes out there that were so fun to play. Like hole number two, like it was just a short par four, and you could tee off with a 4 iron, you can tee off with a driver. Like it had all types of crazy strategies to it. And then the green, the way that the green was shaped, and it's kind of an uphill, tough second shot. Like that was a fun one. So many good course holes. Coming down, and everybody kept saying, when you get to like, doesn't matter where your match is. If you get to hole 14, you still got a chance
Mhm.
because those holes were so hard. So yeah, just a lot of fun.
Yeah, so to paint a picture a little bit for everyone, number 16 is a downhill par 3 that is usually around 150, 155 yards, but it's like a green that's on a shelf, and if you miss it long left, you are in the water. There is no like, it's not going to catch and maybe stay in. It is water after the fringe. I don't know if you happen to look on the left side long there, Doug, but like you can see everyone who's been there before you in the same position. So at least you feel like you have a brethren of the similar experience. But it's just a brutal hole. And number two, I have a story about that if you don't mind hearing it. I've played there once myself, and there was a kayaker in the water on the left side when we teed off. And I looked at my buddies and I said, "I don't think that dude realizes he's got his life in his hands right now." this on
Yeah.
this That's on this tee box. But it's just a, a great hole visually. And is there a shot that you'll remember forever there that you hit? Something you didn't think you'd pull off and you did?
So, yeah, there was a shot, hole 14. I think it's hole 14, long par four.
The one that goes down the chute and then goes up to the green?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So our match in Shamble was pretty tight still at that point, and I hit kind of a nervy driver, and we had like 180 in
It's a long hole, yeah.
uphill,
Yeah.
and then there was wind, and I hit one of the best iron shots. I mentioned that my Diaz Adapt 4-iron, like I hit that, and um, I hit it, and it was one of those like really good shots, but it also got a little bit lucky too.
Mm.
Like the way that it landed and rolled onto the green, like it ended up rolling to about it was about 2 feet, and so that was a key hole in our match. That iron shot. I think we ended up closing it out on the next hole. But yeah, that one was one I'll remember.
That's awesome. Those moments, man, like, it's one thing to go to a place, it's another thing to hit a shot with a club you love that you'll definitely keep in your mind for a long time. That's really cool.
Yeah, and like so many people hit so many good shots. Like T. Wright Travis, he was our captain, and he was such a good captain. Like so calm and so confident in like our pairings. Like he never like wavered. Like he set our pairings like months before, and we went out on the first day and we won all of our matches, and the other team was strategizing and thinking, and Travis was just like dead straight. And I think when me and Travis paired up, like neither of us are long hitters, and so I'm like, okay, like this could be interesting. But I think we only had like one hole where both of our tee shots were no good. Like so we kind of ham and egged it around, and there was just some amazing shots. Travis hit some amazing shots. Like I'll remember so many shots. Like Wonger was competing against us. I'll tell you about this shot. This was a crazy shot. Like it was a par three, and we were playing Wonger and Red, like two of the best guys. Like they were two of the guys that I was cheering for by the end. But we were playing them. It was a par three, and they both hit it kind of out of bounds off the tee, and we were up by the green, like we were like greenside, and they were hitting their second shot, and we didn't know if they were dropping it or hitting their second shot because they were behind a hill and we were already up to the green. And so I think we were like 2 up at this point, and we're like, okay, if we go 3 up, like we're going to be sitting pretty good. And all of a sudden, this ball comes over this hill and lands at about 3 feet, and we're like, okay, that they had to drop, so that's their third shot. We just gotta 2 putt this thing, and we're gonna win the hole. Well, we ended up 3 putting. He makes his putt, so instead of going 3 up, we're only like 1 up. Like it was just like that's how the matches went. It was just like back and forth. You didn't know what was going to happen. So that was an amazing shot by Wonger.
That's gotta suck for you because you made the club that made that happen for him,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
they
your
would come up to
really
me and
your
say,
fault, yeah.
thank you for this. I'm like, yeah, yeah, thank you.
And that's in true Morgan Cup fashion, the team hackers guy refers to his teammates by their first names and the opponents by their forum name. It's the greatest thing ever, Doug. I love it so much.
I love their forum names. I remember everybody's forum names.
That's awesome.
Travis is one that I, got to know really good. But most of the other ones I called by their forum names, but it was super fun.
Awesome. Any final thoughts today before we wrap up?
I mean, I'm just grateful. The Hackers Paradise, that was such an amazing event that Josh and Jeremy put on, and James. Like the amount of effort that Jeremy put into that. It was just a great event. I mean, I can't even put it into words. So I think just the opportunity to meet everybody and go through that experience, I'm grateful for. And the forum is such a nice place, like you mentioned, like it's very welcoming, and it's not elite, and you can talk about anything, and you can be humble, and share experiences. Like, I just think it's an amazing place. So I'm excited about that and grateful that I had the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I'll give you a choice here. We can either wrap it up or we can take another hour. You can tell us all about 2027. What do you think? No one will listen, I swear.
I would get in trouble with
Yeah.
that, so I think we better wrap it up.
All right. Hey, if you, I really appreciate you coming on. It was super fun to get to know you a bit more. I can't wait to maybe get over there and start heckling you a bit in person, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, let's
Um,
get let's get together and play sometime. It'd be fun.
that'd be great. Anyways, if you folks are out there playing golf this weekend, have fun. It's October here in Ohio, which means I'm counting down the days to not only be dark by 5 o'clock, but also not play for the season. So if you're in the same boat as I am, have a good time, enjoy it, drink a wobbly pop if you need to. Yeah, and go hit some Cobra product. I feel like that's not said enough. Tag me on the forum if you do and tell me whether you liked it or not. I'll judge you either way, but mostly in a positive way because you did what I asked you to do. So go hit some product, tell me what you think, and we'll see you guys next week. Now it's time to send it over to Don Brown for this week's Shaft Education, brought to you by True Temper.
Hey everybody, Professor Brown back here at Shaft University answering another question. This week's question was a unique one as it asks about hoop strength and how it relates to head weight. And the answer is it doesn't really. When we talk about hoop strength, we're really talking about hoop stiffness. Remember, strength is how hard it is to break something, stiffness is how hard it is to deform something. We're generally not worried about our shaft breaking in hoop. You'd have to stomp on it to do that. Hoop stiffness is what keeps the shaft round through the swing. So when we bend the shaft, it wants to ovalize. That's lost energy. Can't get that energy back to the golf ball. So hoop stiffness helps us retain that energy. Now it also adds a lot of rigidity to the feel, so it's a balancing act between preserving that energy but not making the shaft feel overly harsh. It doesn't have anything really to do with head weight, although heavier head weight will make the shaft flex more, but there's a lot of other things we can do to counteract that besides just hoop stiffness. Hope that helps. Talk to you guys next week.